channel. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ken, and today we are starting a new series. This is going to be called our Blast from the Past series, where we review older films. Older movies. So the movies we're going to talk about today, we got 6 movies, are all from the 80s and 90s. You know, there's no specifications, I think, on the movies we're going to watch for this series.
Right.
As long as they're, I guess, maybe pre-2000s. Would that be good? Maybe pre-2010s?
I'd say probably pre-2000s.
Pre-2000s would be good. Eventually, I'm going to get you into 1920s silent filmmaking.
Yeah, maybe like way into the future.
Yeah, but we got 6 movies to talk about. Before we get into it, like this video, that would be very much appreciated. And then subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We do all kinds of movie and TV related content. We do fun entertainment, news live streams as well, and do a lot of fun stuff on this channel. So I would recommend that you hit the subscribe button and then comment down below if you've seen any of these films. We got some popular movies, I would say, to talk about. Let us know what you think of them in the comment section below. And let's. What are we gonna start with? We're gonna start with.
So we're gonna go in order of when we watched them.
Okay.
Of how we watched them, and so they're gonna like jump around as far as when they came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go first. What was our first one?
We watched this on Valentine's Day, The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
And we watched all these on HBO Max. We watched them on streaming, so they should still be on there.
Yeah, HBO Max, man, they came through.
They got a lot of good stuff, but I still have the DVD copy of The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show it off if I have a physical media representation. So this is a good movie.
Yeah, this was the first time that I had seen it like from start to finish. I feel like I'd seen bits and pieces of it. And I love Adam Sandler, so it was only, right that I finally sat down and watched it. I love him and Drew Barrymore together. And yeah, this was a nice little, rom-com, right?
I would call it a rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a 90s rom-com. Yeah, I'm glad you agreed to watch this with me, especially on Valentine's Day. It is my personal favorite Adam Sandler movie.
Gotcha.
I've had this on, I actually still have it on VHS in there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love this movie. I think it tells a good story, and Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler have a good romance and really great chemistry. Obviously, they would go on to do a couple other movies after this.
Yeah. Adam Sandler, he's serious in this, but also he's got his, humor that he's known for and that everybody loves. So yeah, this was a good one for me.
Yeah, very quotable movie as well, I would say.
So for this one, we're just going to rate them as well, just like we typically do. But for this, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to go 4.5. This is one of my favorite comedies, if not my favorite romantic comedy of all time. So I can't quite go, part of me wants to give it a 5 out of 5, but I can't quite go masterpiece. I'll go 4.5 out of 5.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So we don't have physical copies of everything that we watched.
No.
So the second one that we watched also inspired the title of this series we're doing.
It did.
And it was Blast from the Past. And this one, oh wait, did you say when The Wedding Singer came out?
The Wedding Singer came out in 1998.
Yes, yeah. Just want to mention that because I feel like it, does tie in with what we're doing here. So, 1998. So yeah, back to Blast from the Past. This one came out in 1999. So I didn't really realize how late in the 90s that one had come out.
Yeah, because Brendan Fraser also did The Mummy in 1999, the first one. So he was having a very busy year that year for sure. Yeah,
so obviously, Brendan Fraser, he's like blowing up everywhere right now. And so that kind of... that we were kind of on a search for some of his older stuff.
Yeah. And
so we were flipping through and you were talking about the premise of it to me. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
If you don't know, he's like his parents thought that the world basically ended.
Yeah.
And so his dad was like this big like doomsday prepper. So they have this like elaborate, like very elaborate underground, what are they called?
Underground bunker.
Bunker, yeah.
And it's back in the 50s when they thought the Cold War, Russia was going to nuke everybody. So everybody was kind of had that fear back then.
Right.
So
and so they basically end up spending like 30 plus years underground. Like Brendan Fraser, his character basically is born under there and goes all the way into his 30s. And so anyway, it's a super cool premise and plot, and but it's like also like it's not serious, like it's a comedy or whatever. And can't forget his dad. Who's his dad?
Christopher Walken.
Right. Yeah. He's great in it. Love him.
And Sissy Spacek is the mom too. Shout out to her.
Right.
That's
Carrie.
That's Carrie.
Yeah. And then of course we've got
Alicia Silverstone.
Yes.
Clueless.
Yeah, so lots of people in it for sure. And I just thought this movie was super fun. I actually really enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's, it's not the greatest comedy of all time, but I have a real nostalgia for this movie. I probably watched it like 50 to 60 times when I was a kid.
Crazy.
There were just some movies I would just watch
and
over
I
and
had
over
literally
again.
never heard of it.
And so I've got a very deep nostalgia for this movie. And I remember like I would quote, "Leave my elevator alone," like all the time when I was a kid. Just the stupid quote that I remembered.
Yeah.
It's a really fun movie. I think the problem that I realized on the rewatch was I think it gets a tad too like melodramatic towards the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's very like silly comedy through most of it. And then it tries to go for those real dramatic beats at the end. I don't think it quite works tonally. But yeah, I still enjoy the hell out of this movie, and I think everybody's great, and it's a very underrated Brendan Fraser performance. I think he's great as this kind of fish out of water in this fish out of water scenario. So
yeah,
great movie.
So for that one, I actually gave this one a 4.5 out of 5.
Oh man, you really like this one?
Yeah, I really liked it. Again, I just like the whole like the plot of it.
It's a really cool premise.
Yeah, it's cool. So 4.5
I don't think
for me.
there's any other movie that has this type of premise. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is very original. So I would give it a 4 out of 5. Again,
Okay.
I love the movie, but I definitely recognize some flaws in it as well.
All right. Well, you want to talk about our next one?
Our next one is I have a nice steelbook of this. This is Some
nice.
Kind of Wonderful.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and show this off. And it has a quote that you said you didn't remember from the movie on the back.
No.
You look good wearing my future. I don't remember it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess it's about the earrings that he spent like all his money on.
Oh yeah, that was
because there's earrings with it. So
yeah. Look, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen some of these, so we're going to be struggling with our thoughts on it.
But yeah, I mean, obviously you've got another well-known cast, I feel like.
You got Leia Thompson. This was definitely post Back to the Future, so she was definitely on fire at this point. You got Eric Stoltzman in this movie as well, who's shown up in a lot of movies since the 80s and 90s. He was definitely in a lot of movies in the 80s, but I had never seen this movie. You had never seen this movie, so this was a first time watch. I feel like this one had been getting recommended to me a lot, so I just felt like we needed to watch this one, and I thought this was very enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. It was honestly
it's a very cliched love triangle type of story.
Yeah, it might be my least favorite that we watched out of all 6 of these movies. Yeah, I don't know. There was just something like it was fine to me. I don't know. There was something missing.
Yeah.
I don't the whole relationship. I didn't necessarily buy into it. It was that typical, guy and girl who are best friends forever, and then of course they end up falling for each other, or the girl is falling for him, but he's into another girl, and then they come together at the end. I didn't necessarily buy into that the two best friends were in love like that. You said it worked for you. I don't know. It didn't work for me.
It's very, you buy into her loving him because that's the theme of the entire movie. But yeah, I think that they kind of rushed it a tad.
Yeah, there was some chemistry missing. I just saw them as friends. So anyway.
Yeah, but I thought everybody was enjoyable enough and had good enough charisma to make this pretty entertaining for me. So I didn't think it was great. I would give it if we're going to give scores, 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, for me, this one was a 3 out of 5.
But it's very 80s. I'm sure it's very nostalgia driven. So a lot of people that love this movie probably grew up with it, and I totally get that. But yeah, it's pretty good though. I enjoyed it.
Gotcha. Okay, so next up, what do we got? We have Mr. Mom. Classic. Mom.
Another first time watch for both of us.
Okay, we forgot again. You forgot to tell when the movies come out. You're forgetting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Some Kind of Wonderful came out in 1987.
Well, I did say post Back to the Future, so at least people knew it was after 1985.
We gotta say when these come out. So Some Kind of Wonderful came out in 1987, which, fun fact, that's the year I was born. So.
Oh, awesome.
Teen.
You should like it more then.
What?
You should like it more then.
Yeah. Well, okay, so our next movie, like I said, was Mr. Mom. This came out in 1983. So, spoiler alert, this was the oldest movie that we watched out of all six.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep, 1983. I mean, this one's got Michael Keaton in it, so what's not to love?
Michael Keaton, Terry Garr, who was in a lot of great comedies in the 70s and 80s. She was in Young Frankenstein.
He basically loses his job, and the wife has been staying at home, and she's like, I'm gonna go out and get a job now, and you can stay home while you figure this out. And so it's just basically him fumbling through fatherhood and stay-at-home dad stuff.
It really hits on those, the pride of a man and how he needs to feel like he's the breadwinner and the whole
don't you think
the
that
gender roles of the 80s.
It kind of I feel like makes fun of men and how
Definitely
they're
does.
kind of like there's this whole thing that men don't know how to take care of kids or do housework. Which, I mean, what do you think about that?
I found it to be pretty insulting. Look, I really enjoyed the movie, but it was very insulting. But
definitely, that was very
we're not that dumb.
Yeah.
Like I do a lot of the grocery shopping in the family, so I know how to make my way around.
He's like in the grocery store and like losing his kids. And...
Yeah, it very much plays into that. Like dads don't know anything other than fixing cars and working on the house,
going to work.
Going to work and things like that. So it really plays up those gender roles, back in the 80s, but also all that still resonates today. I think it's a pretty, timeless classic.
Yeah, it's still a lot of fun. So
yeah, it's a fun movie. I mean, Michael Keaton, this was, I believe, his big role. Like, I think this is the one he really broke out in. And then, this is the one that everybody was like, when he got cast as Batman, they're like, really? Mr. Mom's going to be Batman? So a lot of people were kind of point because this was the movie he was known for. But
that's funny.
I enjoyed it.
So for me, Mr. Mom was a 4 out of 5.
I would give it the same. I mean, it's a classic, one that I've been meaning to see for way too long, and I'm glad I finally got to check it out. So 4 out of 5.
All right, what we got next?
We got this is a big one. This is one that a lot of people have been calling for you to watch for the longest time. Been trying to get you to watch for the longest time, and that is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yeah, is that a burger?
So this is a bootleg Blu-ray. This movie doesn't have an official Blu-ray release. But yeah, this is the I guess the burger joint that she worked at.
That she worked at for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, the Krusty Clown. I can't even remember the name of the damn.
Yeah,
I've seen this movie literally 100 times and I can't remember the name
so
of the
I know
burger
that
joint.
this one, like from you and hearing from others in the like community or whatever, like this is definitely a big one. And I feel like this is another one that I have probably seen bits and pieces of.
Yeah.
Just like growing up, like how like the TV would be on and you might catch bits and pieces of it or whatever, because back in the day you couldn't always record stuff, and so you might catch half of a movie or whatever.
And getting into the dates, this one came out in 1991.
Yes, tell the dates.
1991.
Tell the dates.
I remember.
So yeah, I don't know. This movie was good. It was good. But for me,
better say that.
It just it didn't live up to the hype. Like, let me tell you my problem with this movie, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
The whole thing is, the babysitter gets there. She pretty much dies right away,
First
okay?
5 minutes.
And they don't want their mom to come back home so bad that they go through these extravagant lengths, right?
Yeah.
But like this is my problem. They don't even really do anything that you would think kids would want to do while their mom's away.
It almost turns into this thing of them feeling like they need their independence. So you got Christina Applegate that goes out and gets a job, and everybody's doing chores.
But she's like not happy about it.
And it's almost like if they just would have got their mom to come home, they would have enjoyed their summer a lot more.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm just like, okay, if you guys want to be alone so bad, like you would think that they were just going to be doing all this kind of stuff. But most of the time, it was just like the younger kids having to be taken care of by the like clueless brother, the one that smokes weed and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to hold down the fort while
Kenny,
that's right. I mean, it must be a Kenny thing.
Kenneth now.
Right. Oh my gosh, what's her name again?
Christina Applegate.
Yes, Christina Applegate, which I do love her.
She's very good in this movie. You have to at least admit that.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
She's good. She really is. But for me, I just feel like when you think of a like kids being left at home type of thing, maybe this movie was just doing something different, but it's like you'd think that they were just gonna go like crazy and like
Yeah.
have parties and do all these big things, and they don't do that.
It is kind of similar to Home Alone a little bit because Kevin just really kind of wants his independence as well, and his parents are off. Now, obviously, he doesn't have a means to contact his parents. Like, maybe he could go to the police station, but he's doing the grocery shopping, he's doing the laundry. By the time his
Right.
parents get home, everything's cleaned up, and
Right.
and he kind of took care of himself. So it kind of follows that same line, the needs
Yeah,
for
and I mean,
kids needing their independence, I guess,
Yeah.
is the thing.
and also, can we talk about like this mom was going away for like 2 months?
Yeah.
I'm like, who does that? Like, who
Leaves
leaves
their
their
kids with a
for
90-year-old babysitter.
Like, could you have picked a worse babysitter? As
I will
well?
say that woman that was the babysitter used to scare the crap out of me because I watched this movie probably for the first time when I was like 6 or 7, and you know my fear of old ladies,
Yeah.
and it's been there since I was a kid.
Well, she's very old. That's
When she
for
goes
sure.
and knocks on the window and the boy's like with the girl in the car, like that image just used to like freak me out and give me nightmares. So
Well, I did think that it was kind of funny how when you first meet her, she doesn't seem like she's
yeah,
she just seems like a normal old lady, and then you're like, here she's getting ready to flip her switch or whatever, and then she starts like basically becoming like a bootleg granny, like blowing
Yeah.
a whistle, like
yeah.
you're not doing this and doing that, and that was kind of funny. But again, she's in it for such a short period of time that
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, this movie was good, it was fun, but it just didn't go there for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to not say this is not one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, this is another one I probably watched this movie 100 times. Like I always wanted to watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I think it's a great coming of age story of not just Christina Applegate, but every kid in this movie. They do a good job of like giving an arc to, and they all develop in different unique ways, but they all better themselves throughout the film. So I think it does a good job of giving all the kids like something to do. And you got Danielle Harris in this movie as well, who was in the Halloween movies from back in the day, and she was in a ton of movies. But I think
I don't
she's
feel like
great
the
in the
kids
movie.
like really played that big of a part.
I mean, not as much as Christina Applegate and Keith Coogan, who's Kenny in the movie, for sure. But I think that they do a good job of not making it feel like they're left out. Like all the kids feel like they're having like their own coming of age story.
I know it sounds like I'm kind of down on the movie. I'm not.
It just didn't live up to the hype. I get
it just it didn't live up to the hype for me, and I feel like it was missing something. I guess I was picturing a different kind of plot or something.
No, I was just going to say, if I hadn't had recommended this movie 100 times and we just randomly saw it on HBO, hey, let's watch this, and we did, you probably would have enjoyed it more.
I don't know if I would have. I mean, I still feel like it was missing something, but I still would give this a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Like it's still good.
This for me, look, it's perfect. It's one of my all-time favorites. I'll give it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
I love it.
Well, I'm happy for you.
I love it.
Okay, so the last movie that we're going to talk about, which I've got it here, is Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah,
Oh,
with Michael J. Fox. This one came out in 1985, which is the year you were born.
The year I was born, and the same year as Back to the Future came out. So
Right.
big year for Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, so a very, young Michael J. Fox in this movie for sure. He's just like so tiny. Like
I love
like
him
I
so
feel
much.
like you see just how tiny he is in this. Even though he's like a basketball player in this movie, and he's turning into a wolf or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because there's parts where when he is a wolf, like you can tell that it's not always him because the guy looks like way taller and stuff. I'm like, that has to be somebody else playing him right now. But maybe that's part of turning into a wolf. You get taller for a minute. I don't know.
I do really love the way they did the whole wolf thing, because I just assumed he probably got like bit or something by a werewolf, and that's why he turned into it.
But it's like a family curse.
But it's a family curse, and we've seen that done in other movies.
It
before.
was so funny, and like, it's like, even though it sounds like that's exactly what would happen, I wasn't thinking that they were going to do that with the whole family curse thing. But it reminded me of the Turning Red movie that just came out not very long ago.
I'm sure that was influenced by
another family
Wolf.
curse thing, where he's turning into a wolf. He's like, what is happening to me? And then his dad's like, I promise I know what's going on. And you think he's just talking about normal, like, getting older and stuff. But then he opens the door and his dad's a freaking wolf too.
I just loved how they played that scene, because they didn't like beat around the bush. It was just like, open the door. Hey, I'm a wolf too, son.
Right. And I was like, you'd think that they would do something different, but I guess it actually worked. I don't know.
Yeah, but I really love this movie, and I thought that all the basketball scenes and stuff were cool when he was good at basketball, and I thought that led
Gotcha.
into a really great finale, and it kind of hits you in the feels a little bit because I really thought he was going to turn into that wolf in the final game, and he does not turn into the wolf. So I was happy to see that he relied on his own inner
Gotcha.
abilities and got it done, even though maybe he
Gotcha.
had some of the inner wolf powers in him.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
There definitely were some parts that felt, very 80s. There'd be just like these random, like his eyes would glow or something, or like he'd make a growl sound, but it just like didn't look that good, or
Yeah.
it just seemed very like,
I'm sure that the budget for this movie
Yeah.
was not very high.
yeah.
Um,
But wasn't terrible. I still liked it more than Some Kind of Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's not my least favorite, but I would give this a 3.5 out of 5.
I really like this movie a lot. I'd give it a 4 out of a 5.
Gotcha.
Really enjoyed it a lot. All right, so that is our 6 reviews. 6 reviews in one video. We really gave them their money's worth today.
Yeah.
But this is the Blast from the Past series. This will be episode 1. We'll definitely do more of these as we watch more older nostalgia-driven movies. We might do a few of these, maybe like one movie. If we get like some big ones we want to talk about.
Yeah,
or
we might not have like 6 in every. It might be less. Like
yeah, we might do 3 in one.
3
It just
or
depends on how
smaller
we
amount.
watch them. We just had these built up for a long time, so we figured we might as well just talk about them all. But hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video if you have not, and comment down below if you got any thoughts on these and our opinions on these. I'm sure some people are going to be heated.
People are going to be mad at me
About some of these thoughts and opinions
for
here.
sure.
I feel like people really love Some Kind of Wonderful.
You think?
I think that's the one where they're going to come at us the most over. But
Okay.
we appreciate all comments in that comment section. So comment your thoughts down below. Turn on the bell notifications and follow us on all of our social media accounts down below in the description. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.